Members, we formed a quorum. May I call the meeting to order? This is the last meeting of this legislative year. First, let's confirm the minutes of our meeting. Paper CB 4911/1314. That's the minutes of our meeting on the 12th of May 2014. The Secretariat has not received any proposal for amendments so far. If there are none, may I invite members to approve the minutes? Okay, then the minutes are confirmed. Thank you, Mr. Wong. Information papers issued since the last meeting. There are 3 in total. For details, please refer to the agenda. Before we start, item 3, may I remind members that in accordance with Rule 83A of our ROP, if members have any direct or indirect pecuniary interest in relation to any discussion items for this meeting, please make a disclosure of the nature of the interest before you speak. All right. The third item on the agenda is progress of work of the Committee on Free Kindergarten Education, paper CB 4913/1314 May I first invite the administration to join us now? Thank you, Mr. Eddie Ng, Secretary for Education, for your attendance. We've also got Dr. K.K. Chen, Deputy Secretary for Education. So, Secretary, you're suffering from a flu, so would you like to walk us through the paper? We defer to the Deputy Secretary. I'll do it myself. Thank you, Secretary. Please briefly walk us through the paper. Thank you, Chairman. The committee and also 5 subcommittees have worked very hard. In the past year, they have met over 40 meetings since their establishment. They have maintained very close communication with the kindergarten sector. In December 2013, within less than a year of its establishment, the committee has submitted a preliminary progress report proposing some short-term measures to address the eminent needs of the KGs and parents. There's an increase of voucher subsidy for the pre-primary education voter scheme on a one-off basis by $2,500 per year in the 2014-15 and the 2015-16 school years, and in total they are worth $800 million. This goes to show the government's importance attached to the KG sector. For details, please refer to the paper. After 1 year of discussion, the committee has provided a lot of views on our KG education. The committee has got some preliminary views on some issues. For details, please refer to the paper. I'd like to stress that views on various issues are still diverse. Our preliminary thinking here may not be the final view, because this is just an interim period. The committee will continue to conduct meetings with focus groups to gauge their views on various issues so as to come up with practical and feasible measures in the final report. The committee has entered into a critical stage. In the coming time, it is going to study and consult the stakeholders on various issues, and will also formulate concrete measures. So in the coming half year or so, the work of the committee will be very heavy. And I'd like to highlight a few important areas of work to you. And I would like to seek members' views on these points. First, subsidy should not cover miscellaneous charges because some KGs offer diversified activities, and there is a proposal that basic provision should only cover expenses directly related to the teaching and learning activities. For miscellaneous charges and also fees for adjoining interest classes, well, just like the practice in primary and secondary schools, parents are required to pay for these services. Free KG education will only cover local non-profit making KGs and not non-local KGs. And there is also the discussion of subsidy for whole day KG education. Members do understand that some parents need full-day services to take care of their children. However, whole-day KG places would involve extra subsidies. And there are views that such places should only be provided free or subsidized on a need basis. And the question of rental subsidy, the rentals of different KGs can differ a lot, and when we consider whether rental subsidy should be offered, we have to ensure that public money is properly spent, and KG should meet certain criteria in order to be eligible for the subsidy, and there should also be a ceiling set for the subsidy. The committee will consider this matter and discuss with the consultants. Manpower requirement. This is a very important matter. There are views that the current ratio of 1 to 15 teacher to student should be improved to provide more room for KGs to employ additional teachers to enhance the curriculum and to enable teachers to join professional development courses. The requirements for additional teaching and non-teaching staff and provision of proper career ladder will be further deliberated. So the committee will continue to organize public engagement activities and to discuss with stakeholders, and from time to time we will report to this panel and to the public. May I remind you that the chairman and deputy chairman of the committee have official commitments, so they are not available today, but they do set a lot of store by communication with you. So later, the chairman and deputy chairman of the committee will make arrangements to meet with the chairman and members for an in-depth discussion of these issues. Thank you. Q&A. I'll read out members who raised their hands. Wong Kwok Heng, Kenneth Chan, Yip Kin Yun, Leung Kwok Hong, Regina Yip, Helena Wong, Peter Zheng. Have I missed out anyone? All right, each member will have 3 minutes for both questions and answers. Mr. Wong Kwok Heng. Chairman, indeed, the committee has done a lot of work, and it has worked very hard. The provision of free KG education has to address a number of complicated issues, and the Secretary has outlined 5 areas for consideration, such as the amount of subsidy, rental subsidy, development of manpower, so on and so forth. And these issues cannot be addressed overnight, so I'd like to ask the Secretary In addition to this interim report by the committee, when can it publish its final report?
My second question is this. The chairman, vice chairman of the committee is willing to meet us. Is it possible, say, in the next session, to invite them to come to meet us rather than seeing us on other occasions? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Wong. The committee has given the undertaking that in mid-2015, a report with recommendations will be submitted. There is no change in timetable. Starting from September, there will be thematic consultations and also consultancy studies. Major items, major options, and major principles will have to be considered. Therefore, the chairman and vice chairman want to discuss with you face-to-face. Discussion within a big group may not be the best way of communication. This is more demanding on the chairman and vice chairman. I hope you understand their sincerity. They want to look into the problems in depth. Chairman, concerning the chairman, vice chairman, and members of the committee, it is better for them to come to the LegCo and meet with the LegCo education panel and to have a direct dialogue. That will be very helpful to the compilation of their final report. If they don't come to talk to us, then when their recommendations are put before us, they will face a lot of challenges and barriers. Let me respond. I've already asked the Secretary to issue 2 invitations, but they have other official engagements, and therefore they were unable to attend today's meeting. This is the last meeting of this session. I hope that in the next session, the chairman will invite them to come again. Next, Dr. Kenneth Chan. May I wish an early recovery to the Secretary. My office did a survey, 2009 respondents. There were 2009 respondents. They have very high expectation towards 15-year education. 80% of the respondents hoped that the administration will immediately implement the scheme. If it is mainstream, according to Mrs. Lam, then it is super mainstream opinion. And 60 to 7% or 70% of the respondents asked the administration to make reference to the present subsidy arrangement for secondary and primary schools. Even if there is a big private sector, the administration should consider the following measures, including the standard of premises, subsidy of rent, monitoring and approval of textbook fees and miscellaneous fees, and also the allocation system. They hope that the children can be allocated to nearby kindergartens, and there should also be standards for teaching materials so that in the future there will be a systematic 15-year free education. That's on policy aspect. Now this is a discussion on the work in progress. There are several areas which are very important. We're talking about long whole day, and half-day kindergarten. I think this issue will be further discussed after there is 15 year of free education. Now you start with only half day. Your commitment is not strong enough. As for working parents, they want to have whole day, 15 year of whole day free education. As for rent and premises, In the next stage, the administration has to address the strong expectation, super mainstream expectation in my survey. You have to help the kindergartens with their premises. 3 minutes are too short. I have a lot of views, and I will submit my third stage report to the chairman and members and also the policy secretary. I hope that the subcommittee on kindergarten education will talk to Mr. Moses Cheng. Chairman, I have 10 questions. You only have 3 minutes. I only asked 4 questions out of 10. And there is an important issue. Our communication with the committee. In the past, the administration just threw up kindergarten education policy behind closed doors. Even if there is a committee, it is behind closed doors, though the committee is bigger. The majority of the kindergarten sector do not know what's going on behind closed doors. Apart from having focus groups, will there be any wide or wider consultation apart from consulting us? In the interim report, I do not see any suggestion on salaries. Our major concern is a salary scale for the teachers. Is there any recommendation or any idea about it? As for long holiday in Para 7, it seems that it is a kind of additional need. It is not a pluralistic need. Different parents have different needs. Is it an additional need, or is it a need for certain parents? Is it included in part of the needs? As for the difference in kindergartens and difference in number of students and rent, the majority of the kindergartens may fall within a range. Can I be given a distribution within that range? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Yip. Wide consultation is necessary. Let me give you an example. Should there be subsidized kindergarten education, or should that be mandatory or compulsory education? That is a very important issue, and we need to manage expectation, and therefore we will conduct a wide consultation, and there will be focus groups as well. In my introduction, I've already stressed that there should be competitive remuneration, and there will also be qualification requirement, professional standards, so on and so forth. There will be a consultancy study, or there is a consultancy study going on in respect of the qualifications and professional requirements of kindergarten teachers. The third question is on the needs of parents. Concerning half-day, whole-day, and long whole-day schooling, we know that there is a demand, a rising demand for whole-day schooling, and that's also our concern. There are different needs among parents. We have to understand their needs, and that will also cover career education. We will provide the information asked for. Mr. Leung Kok Hong. Chairman, one bird in hand is worth 100 in the bush. And if you are not able to help Tak Yi kindergarten, then you really can't do much. That is suspected conflict of interest. You know them. How can you say you can't help, and you cannot sit there with ease when Mr. Yun's opinion is very low? Now, C.Y. Leung claims that his platform will last for 15 years. I want to ask, what was the original intention of CY Leung. It was a whole day, long whole day, and half day schooling in his mind. I wasn't involved in the electioneering. Don't ask Moses Cheng to come. Ask CY Leung to come. What did he mean? He appointed you, right? Did he tell you that his political platform was very important? You had to honor his promises? Whether it's whole day, half day, or long whole day, and what are the qualifications of teachers? I can recite that. So it's meaningless. Is there any? Is CY Leung going to honor his promise? In terms of qualification, in terms of scope of subsidy, in terms of whole day, long whole day, does he have any policy? If the answer is none, then it's really meaningless for you to come. Don't just give empty words. Don't just keep on barking. In his policy address, he says that 15 years of free education is the first priority or among all priorities. How many years have elapsed? We have been doing it for some time. It is very important. This is a very comprehensive plan, and we need to discuss various issues. Why CY Leung doesn't say he will only do it after he is re-elected? In the first 5 years, he made a number of promises, and he just gets away with it. And he says that if he is re-elected, he will honor his original promises. Is he going to behave like a scoundrel? Just like a scoundrel who borrowed a small sum, he borrowed a big sum of money and then he repay a small amount and ask for more. Originally, I have not done such a thorough survey as that of the Civic Party, but I talked to the middle class in NT Northwest. Their main concern is whether there are places for their children. They don't even get a place in Sha Tin. And they're also afraid that the government give money to the kindergartens just to pay rent. My question is similar to that of Mr. Yip. We hear that there are big differences between kindergartens. Some are like nurseries. Some require their students to write English compositions. Now, can you provide us information? Where are the kindergartens which provide nursery service? Where are the kindergartens which require tough academic, which are demands? And how do you distinguish non-profit making from profit-making kindergartens? Some kindergartens may pay very high salary to their teachers and headmasters. Do you regard it as profit-making? What do you mean by profit-making and non-profit-making kindergartens? Thank you, Mrs. Yip, for your question. We have a lot of information, and I can provide more information. Say, half-day school, how many students? Whole day school, how many students? Long whole day, how many schools? How many number of students? What are like nurseries and what are like serious academic institutions? They have different categories. And if you use fees as an indicator, then there is a big variation. Their facilities vary, their curricula vary, their teachers vary. They have different arrangements. I can provide to members more information. As for non-profit versus profit-making. Profit-making and non-profit-making. Now they have to apply under the law. they are, in order to be qualified as non-profit organizations. That is the criterion.
Dr. Helena Wong. Thank you. Regarding Top Kids Kindergarten, I'd like to know what the Bureau has done to help this KG. They've come to seek help from legislators many times. So there is no 15-year of free education, and KGs have to find their own premises. And for the case of Top Kids the market will decide whether it can acquire premises for the new academic year. So, and as a result, you haven't done anything to help, and the school is very unhappy. So, when there is 15 years of free education, will KGs still be required to find their own school premises for operation? Or will it be like government-subsidized primary, secondary schools and tertiary institutions? That is, the government is responsible for providing the school premises. And is it possible for through trained schools with primary, with KG, primary and secondary sections, is it possible to tag a KG to primary schools as a mainstream category? Of course, the school premises itself is important. Otherwise, market forces will exert a great influence. Thank you, Dr. Wong, for your questions. There are two important things. First, now KGs are private institutions, but many of them use premises in public housing estates. Some have their own premises, and some have to pay rent. So we have to tackle different scenarios. That's why rental subsidy is a form of assistance, but we must impose a ceiling. We cannot underwrite all the rent payable by a KG, but we need a more professional view, and the consultancy is working on the parameters for quality KG. And now going back to the question of Top Kids KG, well, because of rent, well, for individual cases, please, what about through train arrangement for KG primary and secondary sections? Well, yes, one possible model is co-location of a KG and primary school. Mr. Peter Zhang, well, the heading of the paper is free KG education, but I fail to see how it is going to be free, because the factors mentioned by the secretary is, well, rent is high, and some KGs are profit making. So can you remove the adjective free first? Otherwise, parents may be misled into thinking that full subsidy will be given by the government. You mentioned half-day and whole-day KG education, but you've not talked about the relative advantages. We all know that whole-day KG education is good. If yes, do you have a timetable for us to migrate to full KG education? And then thirdly, you talked about non-English speaking students. You have not discussed how they can be integrated with local kids, and also their transition to primary schools. And then there is the question of teacher to student ratio. Currently it's 1 to 15, and you want to make it better. How about manpower training. Lastly, we cannot have a cake and eat it. So I think the Vice Chairman's point about remuneration of teachers must be discussed. Otherwise, our teachers will suffer, and so will service quality. Secretary. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, members, for your questions. There are a few points. Now, we've noted diverse views from different subcommittees. For instance, compulsory KG education. Many people are against this. So we should not avoid this issue. We should have a thorough discussion of this. And we're not saying that whether half day or whole day or long whole day KG education is better, because they're there to suit different needs. But looking at the number of students we have, I would say that a half-day KG education is still the mainstream. So, and that's why I said we have to consider how to deal with whole-day and long whole-day KG places. And for NCS students, as I mentioned in my paper, they are discussing this and to see whether we have the teachers available to teach them. Dr. Fernando Zhang, there is nothing in the paper to tell us when we can eventually have free KG education. Well, there's been a lot of talk about 15 years of free education. A committee has been set up, and a subcommittee has met over 40 times. They continue to work, and they will report to us from time to time. And we've also got their main concerns. But when can we finally have free KG education? Good question, but please leave time for the Secretary to answer. I think he can do it in a matter of seconds, all right? And there is mention of special groups. Chairman, you know, I do care about students with special education needs, SEN students. Now, those who are aged 2 to 8, waiting for an integrated places. Well, integrated place there, the waiting list is 1,779 and 3,500 order rating for pre or early education. These are students with special education needs. I'd like to ask why the Education Bureau has totally ignored the needs here. Do you think that is the duty of the Labor and Welfare Bureau or the Social Welfare Department? So from 0 to 2, 2 to 6, now education is 3 to 6. Many childcare centers are now KGs, and they start to admit children when they were 2. So this is interesting. Why have you overlooked the needs of SEN kids? Is your position such that they are none of your business? They need not be considered in the education regime? Mr. Ng, thank you. We said that we're going to take 2 years to focus on the important points and then to make recommendations. This will be done within 2015. We'll have to consider the resources required and find a consensus, and then we will come up with recommendations for implementation. So by mid-2015, we're going to have 15 years of free education. No, we have a report in mid-2015, just a report. What about the timetable for implementing 15 years of free KG education? Well, as I said, when the report is published with feasible and practicable recommendations, we'll consider the necessary resources, and we hope to implement the accepted recommendations as soon as possible. Mr. Leung Yu-chong. Well, a few weeks ago, I held a press conference, a press briefing, although the media did not cover it widely. And there are cases where kids could not find KG places in some Shui-Po, and they went to other districts such as Yaochimong and Kwai Chong, and they could not find a place. And I was also told that in Kwai Chong it's hard to find full day KG places. Ultimately, 2 KGs of half-day places approached them. And some of them are very expensive, charging over $7,000 per month. But that family in question is a single-parent family, and the parent has to work part-time so that she could take her kid to school. So the family still cannot find a KG place. The secretary said that he didn't know whether half-day or whole-day KG is more desirable. I think for grassroots, it is better to have full-day KG education because there is no manpower at home to look after the kids. So why don't you do something first? Why do you have to wait until we have the report in 2015 and then after discussion, perhaps legislation is needed? By then, the kids now will become secondary school children, secondary students. So you are not doing enough to address the very pressing and imminent needs of kids now. So can you do something to address some of the issues now? This is better than telling us that you're working on it when in fact you are not really doing anything. You are waiting for the report to be published. Secretary, can you tell us now, at this moment, what can you do to address the shortage of KG places, and that the fees are too high to be affordable, and also issues related to staff remuneration? Can you do something about these first? Secretary, whether it should be a half-day, whole-day, or long whole-day KG places, we'll give you some statistics. There are about 388 kids involved in the PEVS. About 84,000 of them are half-day enrolled in half-day KGs, whole-day 43,400, and long whole-day 21,451. And there are a lot of private places available, and the committee is established to help them. We want to do the relevant analysis and make recommendations as soon as possible. Secretary told us that many kids are receiving half-day KG education. Do you know they're forced to do that because KGs need to run 2 sessions to enroll more students in order to pay the high rent? Thank you, Mr. Yu-chong. Your time's up. Now, we're supposed to end at 5:10. We have already overrun by 5 minutes. 5 members are still waiting, including myself. All right, I'll allow you to ask questions in the second round, but I have to extend the meeting by 15 minutes. All agree? Okay. Before we go to the second round, please respond briefly to Mr. Yu-chong's questions. We do see the need, but we're not able to quantify the demand for whole day and long whole day places. And we want to ensure quality first. And when KGs are established, not all of them offer half-day or whole-day places.
A kindergarten may provide whole-day as well as half-day service. now they are in the private sector, and we not need to regulate it. Next round, Kenneth Chen, Helena Wong, Fernando Chang, Chiang Kok-Chi. If there is time, I will ask my question. Now, there are many challenges, of course, with regard to 15-year free education. Now, you need to honor your promise. In mid-2015, a report will be submitted, and there will be a framework, and we may not accept the recommendations entirely. And then we have to discuss money, and then public consultation. A lot of work to do. We'll only work until 2016. Mr. Ng, you are serving this term of the government. Before you step down in 2017, can you tell the public, here and now, that by then there will be 15 years of free education, and also there will be free kindergarten education by 2017? Thank you, Chairman and member. 2 points. We need time to draw up the report and the recommendations. Therefore, there are short-term measures, which I've mentioned, and we are providing help to our service targets. That's not my question. The second point is that I personally hope that before 2017 we will be able to implement it. As for the mode which is most suitable for Hong Kong, we need to consider that. If you ask for high standard among the teachers, high standard of teachers, there's a need to enhance the qualification of teachers. We need time to train up the teachers. We have to consider that. I personally hope that before 2017 it can be implemented. So there is no specific undertaking. As for top kids, the administration says that we have to wait for 4 to 6 months. That's really regrettable. They are indeed suffering. The teachers, thank you very much. Next, Helena Wong. Chairman, I think my question has been dodged. In paragraph 10, that is the proposal of co-location of kindergartens and primary schools. You will look into that. I think that's the most easy way out. There are primary schools using government resources. They are subsidized schools and government schools. They use government resources. And you can do co-location. Now you want to make good the transition. Now you say that you will send the teachers, kindergarten teachers to primary schools and primary school teachers to kindergartens. Now, if there is co-location, that will go a long way to improve the transition. And parents will be happy that if they can get a kindergarten which is attached to a primary school, they don't need to be troubled for seeking primary school places. Now, is it possible for you to ask the headmasters whether the primary schools are willing to expand and run kindergartens, or to team up with kindergartens and share the school premises with kindergartens? You can ask the school headmasters. They are resources in your hand. You don't need to rely on the private sector. Some kindergartens have their premises in churches, in ground floor shops, in shopping centers. The situation is very complicated, but if there is co-location, you have resources. Will you do it? 4 seconds. First, now we proposed this idea at an early stage for discussion. There are many primary schools which are designed for primary school use only. Let me give you an example. Their playgrounds, their special rooms, the size of the toilets, the corridors and means of escapes vary. There you need to do a lot of additional alteration. there will be a lot of alterations needed. We have overrun 2 minutes questions and answers. Next, Jiang Guoqi, Chairman. The Chairman is just answering part of the question and use it and blow it up to think that it is a comprehensive answer. Now, when you publish a report, everything is finalized. Before you publish your final report, will you first consult widely so that your report will take on board different views? Thank you, Chairman. From now until the publication of the report, there will be many consultations and studies and focus groups. I stress that there will certainly be consultations. The focus groups consultations will be organized by the committee, and those attending those meetings will also be selected by the committee. And people just don't know whether they will be part of the consultation. Mr. Chang is referring to public consultation. This is part of the elements we have to deal with. Free education has to be open. So there will be public consultation. Well, you need to stimulate thinking. You need to stimulate people to give ideas to you. You only have the report in 2015, then you have to collect ideas and views and opinions, and then amend your report accordingly. In the next session, Tai may not be watching over you. Are you going to do it in 2017 only? You have done so many rounds of consultation or so many consultative meetings, and you have a committee there. You have spent so much time on preparatory work. Do you have time to digest all these? You have 40-odd meetings. People ask you not to do consultation in group. You have to conduct consultation widely. You must give us time. I don't want to work on Saturdays. Before 2015, how many consultative meetings will you organize? What is the role of this council? Have you asked Lam Tai Fai to earmark 10 Saturdays for you to conduct consultation? Now, you have to don't go to play football, Mr. Lam, on Saturdays. Be prepared for consultative meetings. There are 5 subcommittees, and each committee deals with in-depth issues and broad issues. And they have already set out the consultative targets for consultation. Parents will be consulted. The demands for whole day, half day, long whole day schooling are very different. The consultation will be very complicated. The consultation will be in depth. We have a heavy workload. That's the reason. Now you've already done 40-odd consultative meetings. If you are going to organize 90-odd such meetings, then it will be many, many weeks. Fernando Cheung and then myself. Now it's said that by 2017 he hopes to implement that, but children can't wait. By 2015 they are already in the primary schools. The present PEVS is unfair to whole day schooling. It is a per head subsidy, and it's even now they for a long whole day they open for 12 months and they open for 12 hours or even 10 to 12 hours per day. That is really unfair to long whole day schooling. before you have your grand plan, do you have any measures to turn the table? For long whole day schooling, it is to help the working parents. The children come from grassroots families. Both parents have to work. The long whole day kindergartens are penalized, and they have the greatest wastage problem. And as for kindergartens, you have also done away with receiving children with special education needs. Will you allow the kindergarten reopen that arrangement? Now, there are short-term measures because of this. We substantially increase the subsidy, so whole day and half day schooling will also benefit. We also have special arrangements for poor families. We shouldn't be too hasty. If we are to look after SENs, students with SENs, we need teachers with special training, and we are working with the LWB on this. This is my turn for the first round. The committee was formed in early April 2013, and there will be a report in mid-2015. According to the efficiency and progress of the government, I will consider it effective and efficient by 2015 when you have the report. Can your report meet the needs of the community at large and the KG sector? We still have to wait and see. Now you have 40 more meetings within 4 months, and I know you are sincere. And the new government stressed time and again that it wants to provide 15 years of free education within its term. Let's see whether the administration can honor its promise. Members have asked me openly and privately that the chairman and vice chairman of the committee will come to meet us. Probably it's because of the schedule of this panel or because of the busy schedules of the committee. We are not able to meet with them. I hope that the committee can listen to the views of our members. Today, the secretary told us that the chairman and vice chairman would arrange meetings to meet our members. I feel that we are not respected. If you have this decision, you should have informed me. Many members at the meeting asked me to invite the chairman and vice chairman to come. They've also said so privately. If you want a private meeting, then you should first inform me first so that I can inform members. Otherwise, members will feel that I and the secretary have not done my part, or our part, in arranging the meeting. We need to be respected. If the chairman and vice chairman want to meet members of this panel privately, that may still be acceptable. But I want to inform the secretary that we have 29 members. If you want a private meeting, then all members should be present or should be invited. Otherwise, if you meet members in turn, then that will not be a good arrangement. Some will ask why you meet them first and not us first. This is the last meeting of the panel. I hope you will listen to my advice and don't make things so complicated. Let us move on to the next discussion item, and that is follow-up on policy on small teaching in primary schools and issues related to increasing the number of students allocated to each primary one class. Paper CB 4913/1314, regular 3. The Policy Secretary, please give a brief introduction to this paper. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, please. On the 12th of May 2014, at the Education Panel meeting, we informed members on the arrangements on the primary one admission system, POA. In 3 districts, 5 school nets, there is a transient increase in places. After the results of POA is announced or was announced, we met with the primary school sector. We took stock of our experience and we planned for the arrangement for next year. We thank the primary school sector for implementing the arrangement, and the primary school sector also agrees that flexible measures will be introduced to meet the demand for primary one places and the sudden increase, and they also include increasing the number per class. It is expected that the number will be stabilized afterwards, and the consensus is that no new school will be built to deal with a transitional increase in demand for P1 places. This will ensure this will help to reduce the adverse impact on the stable development of primary school education.
Let me stress that for public sector primary schools, where circumstances permit, they will gradually migrate to small class teaching. This policy still remains. We will make use of existing resources and mechanisms and see how we can, during the transitional period, provide supplementary support to help schools continue small class teaching in a professional, pedagogical, learning and teaching manner. In order to increase the supply of P1 places in this transitional period, we will provide information to schools and parents to understand the situation. We'll also assist schools to deploy flexible arrangement. Chairman, I pause here, and I'm willing to listen to members' views. Thank you. Wong Kwok-hing, Deputy Chairman, Helena Wong, Tam Yu Chung, Chanka Lok, Fernando Jiang. Anyone more? All right, 3 minutes each in the first round. Wong Kwok-hing. Thank you, Chairman. Although the Chairman is indisposed, his opening remarks are important. He said that small class teaching policy will not be changed, and the government is going to honor this undertaking. I'm very happy to hear that from the Secretary. Now, during the transitional period regarding allocation of extra students to P1 classes and the use of vacant school premises. Now, Para 6 mentioned 2 vacant school campuses. Have you considered whether in Yunlong, Taipo, and Kuntong, the number of vacant school campuses that can be used, will they be sufficient to cope during the transitional period? Thank you. May I defer to the Deputy Secretary? Thank you. Yes, we have various ways to tackle the needs in the transitional period. We borrow places from neighboring districts. We make use of additional or vacant classrooms, and allocation of extra students is a last resort. In Kuntong, we have earmarked 2 vacant school campuses for this use, and we've received applications in early July, and we are working at full speed, hoping that in 2016 or 15-16 we'll be able to use them. Deploying or allocating extra students to P1 classes. Is it acceptable to teachers of the schools concerned? Will these add to their teaching pressure? Yes, we are very concerned about the response of schools and parents. Now, we have various transient measures, and we're grateful to the chairman for reminding us last time that we must enhance communication with schools and parents. Now, different districts may have different responses to different measures, but for deployment of extra students to P1 classes, we will increase resources for the schools concerned. And if the number of places is 30 per class, we will provide the school with a time-limited additional assistant primary school master or mistress post. For those admitting more than 30 students per class, we will provide a grant, an extra grant to support it. Thank you. Mr. Kim Yun. Thank you, Chairman. Our last motion is to urge the Bureau to discuss with the school sector again. I understand that they have already done that, but from what I've heard, extra communication is not very helpful, and they have not reached any consensus. So I think the Bureau should learn a lesson from this experience. I would like to raise a few points. First, according to the school sector, there are a serious overestimation of students. When it comes to the actual allocation of students, well, the number is much lower than anticipated. As a result, there is great confusion in these districts. According to the current planning and policy, some schools cannot operate enough classes as a result of this confusion. Well, when the student population drops, we can understand why a school cannot operate all its classes in full. But when the student population is rising, why is it that the opposite has happened? And this has given rise to chaos to the school sector. And secondly, on the point of resources, so schools will be given a time-limited APSM post if it cannot implement small class teaching as a result of the allocation of extra students. But what about the compensation to the loss in resources and compensation to the school as a result of the allocation of extra students? I understand that some negotiations were attempted, but to no avail. So I'd like to ask the administration whether it will conduct a review as soon as possible to ensure that next year there won't be any confusion in planning and allocation. Undersecretary, when the OA was announced, we had a meeting with the two school councils. I don't agree that there is no consensus. Schools agree that this year we should expedite the CA arrangement, and we agree that using this year's experience, in 15-16, we should start our discussion earlier. So we've already started discussing with schools the arrangements for 2015-16. We mentioned a number of measures. Allocating extra students is not the only measure, but if it is adopted, schools have raised their concerns. For instance, for schools that have implemented SCT, teachers may not be able to adjust to a bigger class size, and we've agreed to start our discussion earlier. Dr. Helena WONG. We heard from the School Principal Association of 8 schools saying that they disagree to the allocation of extra students to P1 classes. But you have identified 5 school nets in 3 districts. So I'd like to know whether the class size in these schools will be from 25 to 30. Yes, all right, then the DP is against this. Because when you don't have enough places, you just allocate more students to P1 classes, and that is against the SCT policy. And you're using this to address the problem of insufficient P1 places. You've heard our objection for many years. For these schools, you told us that there were no remaining classrooms, so these schools could not operate more classes. But for the 32 schools in Kwun Tong, according to what we heard from these schools, there are remaining classrooms available. So why don't you use these remaining classrooms to operate one more class? Why must you disrupt SCT to increase the class size to over 30? So what is said in the paper is different from what we've heard. I'd like to know whether you have hidden anything from us. Under Secretary, Deputy Secretary, we have certainly not hidden anything from you. The CA results were available in Kwun Tong. In Kwun Tong, there are not enough classrooms to cope with the shortfall, and therefore we have adopted the measure of allocating extra students. And some schools may want to turn special rooms to classrooms, but they did not raise that in the first place. And Dr. Wong asked whether in these 5 school nets, all the class size will be bigger than 30. Well, in fact, we use 30 as a basis for allocation of students. And depending on the choice of parents, from now to the start of the academic year in September, the actual class size may not be actually 30. To quote an example, from the North District last year, there was allocation of extra students. On average, the class size was 32, and they could also accept 3 more students under principal's discretionary scheme. So the allocation is based on the 32 students per class, but the end result may not necessarily be that. Can you give us the latest situation for the 5 school nets of the 3 districts after allocation? Deputy Secretary, I think registration is not completed yet. Yes. The situation is still fluid. We cannot provide statistics on the number of students allocated to schools because that will impact these schools. We can give you the information come September.
Kenneth Chen. Chairman, last time when it was discussed, I asked the Secretariat to provide us Circular 19/2008. You had different views. The Bureau said that it was small class education with flexibility, and the school principals and teachers said that the number was 25 and no more. If there is no fixed number, then the problem arises, just like the one before us. If you look at notice 19/2008, it mentioned 25 students per class is standard size, para 3, and para 6 for stable development of the school, facilitate choosing schools by parents, and facilitate long-term planning. Schools implementing small class education will not be allowed to apply for expanding their class to 30 per class. If you allow expansion to 30 or 31, then it raises a concern. Now, you said it was a range, 25 to 30, 25 to 31, but according to this notice, the standard is 25 per class. I want to remind the Education Bureau, if you don't have this principle, and if you don't adhere to this standard, then in the future we will have to argue every year over the number of students per class. If you have the commitment, 25, and you will only be allowed to add 2 more, 27, and that's the ceiling. And if more than that, then you'll have to have more classrooms or organize to make certain arrangements. You should not be allowed to increase the number of students per class to 31. You will only create uncertainty if you do so. Population does change, that's the fact, but you need the policy. On one hand, you say this is the policy, but in fact you are just departing from your policy. I hope the administration will adhere to its principle, adhere to its policy, instead of pulling the school principals to one side and ask them to increase the number of students. They a simple reply. Chairman, in implementing the policy, we have foreseen the change in population. So in para 9, it is said that because of change in circumstances, need be allocation, at the extra allocation will be made depending on circumstances. It's only from 25 to 27, not 30. Next time you Chung. I have a question on paragraphs 5 and 6. Paragraph 5, the administration extended the date of allocation from January to early February. With that extension, will that affect the arrangement of primary 1 allocation? In Kwun Tong, there are 2 vacant schools for temporary arrangements. I'm concerned whether school sponsoring bodies are happy to make use of vacant premises to run schools. It is very flexible. Maybe just in 2 or 3 years' time, there will be no more students and the school will have to be folded up. They've got teachers, they have got school principals, and yet the schools will be closed down in 2 to 3 years. Now the administration says there is a school sponsoring body which is interested. I don't know whether that is a suitable school sponsoring body. And after 2 to 3 years, the school may be folded up. How are you going to deal with that if there is a decline in number of students? Chairman, in para 5, we say that we defer the POA schedule. It is upon the request of the schools. In November, after we've received information on the discretionary places, then we have a clearer picture. And we may need to increase the number of places according to demand. This year's experience told us that the school felt that they had not enough time. We want to have more time to talk to the schools and let the schools to assess the situation and find a suitable measure. We have asked the schools, and in fact they welcome the present arrangement. As for using vacant school premises in Kwun Tong, in receiving the applications, we told the applicants that we expect that the peak will be 2016-17 to 2018-19, and there will be decline starting from 2020. The school will be used for at least 9 years, and we'll consider whether there's a need for further extension. There is a certain certainty for 9 years. After 2019, they may not need to receive primary school, primary 1 students. Next, Fernando Chung. When there is a decline in student population, the administration just kills the schools. And when there is a rise in student population, they increase the number of students per class, even under the policy of small class teaching. The schools have to bear the brunt, and the students, our children, pay the price. In fact, we passed 2 provisional motions. One, we oppose the increase in number of allocation, and number 2, we ask for further consultation with the education sector. I assume that they have had a thorough discussion. But at the end of the day, we don't think it is right to increase the number of students per class. We have 25 students per class. If there are more students, will you base on the resources of 25 students per class and provide additional resources? As for hardware, that's another question. At least in terms of manpower, resources, they will have the same manning level as that of small class teaching. There should not be any backpedaling. Yet, you still insist on your point, despite our motion. In fact, the situation is not clear. After you add additional number of students, what will be the actual enrollment? According to the Vice Chairman, in some schools, after extra allocation, have not enrolled enough students, and they may even have to reduce the number of classes. It's really confusing. And should the schools bear that consequence? Now you increase the extra number of you increase the allocation of students, and then the schools will have to recruit extra teachers and staff members according to that number. And if it turns out that the number of students actually enrolled is smaller, then who is to bear the consequence? Now we expect that the number of students will decline after 2019. Then is it possible to maintain your subsidy according to the level of small class teaching? I will speak on matters of principle, and then the Deputy Secretary will speak on the operation side. We did talk to the school on a district basis on whether it's feasible to increase the number of allocation. We cannot unilaterally decide on increasing the allocation per school. As for small class education, basing on the principle of extra allocation, we try to maintain the spirit of small class teaching, i.e. 25 to 27 per class. We have not changed the spirit of our policy. That is a transition. that is a short-term bliss, and we blister. We therefore need to deal with that. Now, why there is a difference between the number of students allocated and the actual enrollment? Now, we allocate on 30 students per class, and it's for the parents to choose the schools. We have 2 stages. The first stage is discretionary arrangement. Now, if the parents are not able, some parents after failing the discretionary phase may not join the POA, the next POA cycle, or next POA, next round in POA. So that's the declining number. But there are new arrivals. That's the additional side. And so there is a variation in number. And basing on this, we allocate the students. And we also decide on the number of classes and number per class, depending on the fluidity of the situation. Say for cross-border students, if they are not allocated the schools they want, they may not come over to Hong Kong. These are the reasons for the difference. What about if they have recruited new teachers? We want we don't want to see any excess teachers. Now, if we have approved the additional intake, then we allow 1 year for that to continue. Next round, Yip Kin Yun, 3 minutes each. 3 minutes, questions and answer. 2 questions. Mr. Kenneth Chen has put it well. With regard to adhering to the policy of small class education, does the administration adhere to that policy? If they do, why they allow so big flexibility? You can even increase the number per class to 32. According to your population projection, there will be more P1 students. Then you will have more than 30 students per class. You maintain such a great flexibility. And the additional resources you give is based on big class teaching, not small class teaching. How can you say that is a reasonable arrangement? My question, therefore, is, will you conduct a comprehensive and thorough review on your arrangement? At the beginning of the next school year, we would like to see a review of your system. And we really cannot agree that you are adhering to the small class teaching policy. The second question is that the Deputy Secretary said that there was a consensus. Did she talk to the school principals in the districts? What was the consensus as you understood? The situation is really not desirable. If there is a consensus, can you write to the schools, each and every school, concerning the allocation of students and the provision of resources? I doubt whether there is a consensus at all. The Deputy Secretary. I met the aided school council, aided primary school council, and aided school principal, aided school primary school principal council. I met with the representatives of these councils, 18 districts, from 18 districts, in particular those districts affected. The chairman of the school principal council in Kwun Tong. And we had letters confirming the consensus. Can you provide us copies? whereas the two councils, the letters were given to the chairman of the two councils. I'm happy to give you a copy if they agree. There is no change in policy. With this sudden short-term increase in population, the schools are very accommodating. They know that it's unrealistic to build more schools. And when we increasing the number of allocation per school and per class is the last resort. We try to make use of the nearby school nets.
Right, the discussion of this item ends here. And we go on to the next item. And that is electronic application platforms for candidates of Hong Kong Diploma of Secondary Education Examination to pursue multiple pathways. Paper CB 4913/1314 for this item, we have Mr. Kevin Young, Under Secretary for Education, Mr. Wallace Lau, Acting Deputy Secretary for Education, and Ms. Pegvin Yong, Acting Deputy Secretary for Education. I give the floor to Mr. Kevin Young, Under Secretary for Education, to give us a briefing of the paper. Thank you, Chairman. Well, all the post-secondary institutions in Hong Kong admit students under the principles of fairness and merit-based selection. There are various electronic platforms available, including the Joint University Program Submission System, JUPAS, the Electronic Advanced Application System for Post-Secondary Programs, e-app, the web-based application system for the Yi-Jin Diploma Program, and also Scheme for Admission of Hong Kong Students to Main and Higher Education Institutions. So the paper has set out the operation of these systems and principles for admission. I briefly outlined them. JUPAS is a unified platform and the sole channel for students applying on the strength of Hong Kong DSE results for admission to publicly funded full-time first-year, first degree or public funded full-time sub-degree programs. Each candidate may select up to 20 programs based on in order of preference. JUPAS will do iteration of the relative position in the merit order list of an applicant, and also each applicant has assigned to his program choice list with the relative position in her own merit order. And then for e-app, it is something outside the JUPAS system, and it is for students to apply before DSE results are out. Candidates may apply to various programs under e-app using one application, and they may be given conditional offers before the announcement of Hong Kong DSE examination results. And when the results are available, the institutions could provide firm offers to those applicants with conditional candidates. And this will save the students time and effort to queue for admission. And students may select up to 8 choices, and the system will use that is the Yi-Jin Diploma Program. And then the Ministry of Education started the scheme for admission of Hong Kong students to main and higher education institutions in 2011, and they don't have to take the joint entrance examination. They can make use of the system for checking the state of the applications. These e-platforms hope to help students to acquire useful information and to submit applications to different programs on the basis of their own interest and aptitude. We will, together with the relevant institutions, monitor the operation of these platforms, and we welcome views from students and stakeholders for improvement of the systems, and we look forward to suggestions from members to improve the operation of these systems. Thank you. Mr. Kim Yoon is the only one who would like to ask questions. For the time being, if there is no other member, then don't set any time limit. Can I have 20 minutes? I'll stop you when I think fit. Right. Not many legislators are interested in this paper, meaning that this is not a controversial topic. It tells us the situation now. We have never, none of us here has set the Hong Kong DSE examination. Now, Hong Kong DSE students have got various platforms, and that goes to show that society has advanced. But with so many e-application platforms, will it bring difficulties to students? Mr. Charles Marcus here. Now, when students can have access to so many e-application platforms, can these platforms be integrated so the students don't have to deal with so many different platforms? A student may have to attend to different platforms at the same time. And I think the education sector would also like the platforms to be integrated and consolidated. But of course, since they're already developed, it may not be technically easy to do that. But do you have any plan to do so? Well, as far as I'm concerned, this is I want these platforms to be integrated or consolidated. Thank you. Under Secretary, we have been trying to find ways to reduce the need for students to apply through different e-platforms. Now, for JUPAS, it's mainly for application to publicly funded full-time first-degree programs or sub-degree programs, and there is a selection process. There may be many applicants. Now take the 8 universities who've only got 15,000 places altogether. The JUPAS will avoid the scenario where one candidate can get multiple offers. So he is allowed to choose up to 20 programs, but we will it will be listed in order of preference, and only one offer will be granted to one eligible candidate. And for e-app, it is different. It will receive all the choices from one applicant, and information would be disseminated to all the self-financing post-secondary institutions. And these institutions are free to make their own choice, and a student may get several offers. There is no selection in the process. And YJD program is a different system. Under EAP, if with the consent of the applicant, some information can be fed to the JYD program. As for the online system for the scheme for admission of Hong Kong students to mainland higher education institutions, it is a totally different program operated by the Guangdong province. So integration with this system is not so easy. while we will continue to pursue your suggestion, these platforms are independent and different. Allow me to digress a little bit, since we still have time. In the Finance Committee meeting, I've said a number of times that I do support the mainland higher education institution scheme because we don't really have enough places for our students, and it is an extra opportunity for Hong Kong students to receive higher education, and it's also a good way out for our students if they can study on the mainland in view of integration between Hong Kong and the mainland. I think many students have been to all the universities in Hong Kong. If I remember correctly, about 70 institutions are involved in the scheme. None of them are in Guangdong. Some are in as far as Hunan, and I don't think students in Hong Kong could have visited all of them. So looking at the web is different from allowing students to see the schools themselves. I think after a candidate has made an application, there should be an appointment for interview. It's not as easy as for a local student to go to Baptist University and then to Hong Kong University. So would there be something in the system to enhance the understanding of students of these institutions? Is there anything to help or to facilitate Hong Kong students to apply for mainland higher education institutions? Yes, it's true that we should provide more information for our students to help them to make an informed choice. We have a major exhibition to allow these institutions to introduce themselves to students. Now, this is a new scheme, but I can say that it is a good direction forward. Can you say provide information on the number of Hong Kong overseas students a certain institution has accepted, so that local students will not feel lonely. They will not see themselves as being the only one studying there. Let me say that there is no need for a student to attend an interview in the respective institution. Oh, they have a center in Hong Kong. May I defer to Mr. Yong? Mr. Lau, thank you very much. Thank you for your support for the scheme. First, interview. There are several ways of doing things. For some institutions, there is no need for an interview. For design and fine arts, perhaps a portfolio can be mailed to the relevant institution. And then interview can also be done on the web. For instance, if a student has applied for one in Hunan and other in Beijing and then in Sichuan, he doesn't have to attend interviews there. But if the student so prefers, he can attend interview personally. That's true. Promotion and publicity. Well, on that website we have information. There are a few pages for each institution to explain the strengths of their programs and also their admission criteria. Some may require a grade 4 in 4 subjects of Hong Kong DSE. And publicity this year in particular, I understand that some universities have made arrangements or agreement with some secondary schools in Hong Kong. When they attend the exhibition or fair in Hong Kong, they will take the opportunity to visit secondary schools in Hong Kong. If some students are have particular interest in some programs or some universities, we can help to do the matching and arrange for these universities to visit these secondary schools. And we also arrange for school principals and counseling teachers, student counselors to visit these universities to look at their facilities. Some schools may be more interested in science faculties, some in law or public administration. We will do the matching and organize tours for schools.
We've arranged the school principal councils and also government schools to have such visits, and we're happy to arrange that. Now, some higher education institutions in the mainland have already established contacts with local secondary schools. If possible, can you provide us with the information? I want to know what higher education institutions in the mainland are actively liaising with local schools so that we can promote the scheme. Next, Ms. Helena Wong. I don't know whether it's a digression. This electronic platform, of course, is good, but this is only a technical one. The platform assists the application. The students need information most. I have a bit of concern here. How do you release information through this platform, apart from allowing it as a platform for making applications? And information should cover the 8 universities and also self-financing programs. About $900 million have been approved to subsidize students who attend self-financing course. It's a kind of board play scheme. If you buy a program, then the program will survive. If you don't buy a particular program, then the program dies. Will you add information? This is government-subvented program. This is not. Will you show it in your platform, on your platform so that everything is clear and the students are informed? Before you launch that, you better inform us. What programs will you buy with the $900 million? You have already your decision will decide the sustainability of a particular program in the market. There's a bit of digression, but see if the Undersecretary wants to answer that. Will you put down a marker that this is subsidized by the government? This program is subsidized by government. Now, we got the approval of Finance Committee for 1,000 places. We plan to put it in the JUPAS system. The 8 institutions, the programs of the 8 institutions plus the 1,000 places. If it is within JUPAS, the 8 institutions, and also subsidized sub-degree, or associated degree, and also the 1,000 board place, so-called board place programs. Say, for example, Tonghua College, there is a certain program chosen, and you will see the number of places. You will not mix them up. The board place and also the subsidized places of the 8 institutions will be under JUPAS, right? Yes, we will put it under JUPAS for application. As I've explained to the Vice Chairman, there is an arrangement so that a student will not be given 2 offers in subsidized programs. There will be 16,000 places for the students. If you don't have further questions on this topic, I will move on to the next topic, and that is implementation of the Chinese language curriculum, second language learning framework, and professional support. I believe the panel has received the submission of the unison. This demonstration has a PowerPoint presentation. Now, please take us through the paper. Let the officials settle down first. Yes, the Undersecretary. Would you please make a PowerPoint presentation? I'll say a few words, and then my colleague will make a presentation. On the 14th of April, at a panel meeting, we briefed members on the details of the Chinese language curriculum's second language learning framework, including the associated professional support. Today, we are to update you on the progress. The language learning framework has been uploaded under the specific website. A number of development programs for teachers will be organized and will continue to be organized so that teachers who receive non-Chinese students will be able to understand the framework and choose different teaching materials according to their needs and adopt the various modes, the various modalities, and also teaching material. We are also seeking recognition for that. The first course will begin from 2015 to 2017, and we will ask experts to set up the research frameworks and assess the effectiveness of the support given to non-Chinese students in terms of learning Chinese language. My colleague will speak on the details of framework. Mr. Lee. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I will make a PowerPoint presentation. This is the support given. We have three main pillars: the resources, teaching, development, and school-based support. This is a 3-in-1 arrangement. This is the basis for the second language learning framework. It is through practice, through research and development that we implement the framework. This framework is based on real-life experience. It is also based on data and principles. We have the partnership scheme, the QEF, and additional funding so that schools will be provided with manpower, resources, and material resources for implementation of this second language learning framework. Now, on the left-hand side, you can see that there is learning between there are integrated activities, and the Chinese students and non-Chinese students are taught in class and share the same facilities. We have an existing learning framework which lists the key learning areas. These are also learning targets and learning outcomes. If you look at the right-hand side, basing on the current Chinese language curriculum, we've developed a second language learning framework. We call it NLF. We call it NLF. On the right-hand side, if you look at strategy, this is a small group approach. As for non-Chinese students, NCS, they will have additional classes. There will be intensive approach. we should adopt a targeted approach in helping NCS. Small steps are necessary. If we just take them out and form a small group and deal with them, then they will be able to overcome the problem. That's not what we want. We want them to have the language context, the language environment. They should be put in the context of local students so that they can have more practice. We give additional classes, and this is more appropriate. So it is a parallel mode. Let me now turn to the current situation of the NLF. The main concept is based on listening, speaking, reading, writing. 4 key areas.
Now
the NLF is based on mainstream learning program framework. There are 8 steps in the NLF. There are also 8 steps, but we adopt a small step approach. Each step is further divided into smaller steps. In the first step, the first step is broken up into 4 small steps. In the second step, 3 smaller steps. In higher steps, there will be even smaller steps. According to different skills, we may have smaller steps or not so small steps. Let me give you an example for illustration. Now, this example is the result of partnering with schools. It is based on actual situation that we draw up this framework. In this school, they stress teaching, learning, and assessment, the 3-legged stool concept. That is an internal assessment tool for the school. We encourage the school to use the assessment tool to find out the Chinese language level of the NCS, and according to their performance, more appropriate teaching targets or learning targets are set through various learning strategies. The students acquire the knowledge, and then there is a further assessment, and basing on progress, the strategies are fine-tuned. This is rather vague. Now then, let me turn to this. This is composition example. The student has to look at this sketch and then write an essay on this situation. What has he seen? Then the teacher will assess the student according to the content, the structure, the rhetoric. Let us look at the student. This is a pretest. He doesn't know how to write many words, so he just put down a drawing. This is a real life situation. He doesn't know how to write the word tortoise in Chinese, so he just draw a tortoise there. Our requirement is that he should use simple sentences to describe what he sees, and then express his feelings in this outing. He is not able to use proper sentences, and he is not able to express clearly his feelings in this picnic. Now, that's the problem we've identified in the pretest. Now, in order to help the student apart from content structure, rhetoric, we also discovered that he doesn't know how to make use of punctuation marks. He just used 2 punctuation marks in the whole essay. Now, that is his assessment, or that is his performance. What are the key learning areas and what teaching materials should be used? Now, under the NLF, we use the small step approach, and then we make use of relevant teaching materials, and we also provide notes for the teachers in using the materials. Now, what are the key learning areas? Now, we look at it from 2 perspectives. That's about his performance. What are the things he will be able to acquire? And then, basing on his performance, we link it up with these clear descriptors. His writing ability is still in step 1, near the end of step 1. Step 1, 4. Write complete sentences on things he is familiar with, and he expresses it in simple paragraphs. That is what he should achieve.
And then further step is, well, the learning framework gives the teacher and also the student what to expect next after the student has achieved 1 step. So it's always progressing. In the past, teachers may just knew what the children could or could not do, and then the teacher didn't know what to do next. But with this learning framework, the teacher knows now. Now, we just had a slide on content. Now, this is about the structure. The student should be able to make use of phrases to express time, for instance, yesterday, today, and also use phrases to describe the time sequence. And next, vocabulary, punctuation, syntax. He is required to be able to use punctuation marks, and the punctuation marks needed for a smooth sentence. And the teacher will know how to proceed from these small steps. The teacher should be able to find the right teaching material. For instance, this is a worksheet. There is a teaching philosophy behind each worksheet. For NCS students, we must be aware of the assistance he requires. For instance, he has difficulty with vocabulary, and we first give them a list of vocabulary items. We do that in English too. We give them the vocabulary he needs so that he can use it in this writing. Of course, not all NCS students do not know this vocabulary. So we have different levels of worksheets. Now, this is type 2. The student has good grasp of vocabulary. His problem is not with vocabulary, but we have to ask leading questions to help him to write proper paragraphs in a composition. So this will help the student to catch up in weaker areas. Now, this is a pretest. The test paper will not be returned to the student. The school knows the students' weaknesses by means of this pretest, and then there will be another test afterwards. So teaching assessment is a cycle. Now we'll talk about the same student. All right, and other assessments afterwards shows improvement in all areas, although there are still inadequacies. But this is a positive way to tell the student how he has improved and to let the teacher know that he has achieved the basic steps and what next. Now, this is an assessment afterwards. The teacher will then say that the student is able to express the proper time sequence and is able to use punctuation marks such as quotations, and the structure is improved and there can be paragraphing. All right, I pause here and go back to the learning structure, the learning framework. All right, what do we want to achieve by means of the learning framework? The purpose of the learning framework is to help each NCS student to have confidence in taking the Chinese language paper in Hong Kong DSE. But depending on his interest and ability, we have a number of options. Ultimately, we hope that all NCS students can sit for the Hong Kong DSE Chinese language subject. But if he feels that he is far too behind, then in senior secondary, we offer the choice of Hong Kong DSE applied to learning Chinese. Here, we are focused on English competency required in the work scenario. If a student finds the Hong Kong DSE too challenging, then he can opt for applied learning Chinese paper. But we don't rule out the possibility that he can take the IGE, CSE, or vocational Chinese employment. So we have a multiple of choices. To reiterate, we will start from an assessment to diagnose NCS students' need, and then we choose the right teaching and learning strategy. Now, if a teacher and a school teaches an NCS student for the first time, he can access such material from our website. But in a mainstream classroom or in an integrated classroom, the student will still be learning the ordinary curriculum, but he can also be taken out to follow this learning framework. All members of the public, including teachers and parents, can have access to all the materials and resources made available. Thank you. Thank you very much for your briefing. All right, Q&A. I'll read out the names. Deputy Chairman Abraham Sheck, Fernando Zhang, Helena Wong, Kenneth Chan, and Michael Tian. 3 minutes each for Q&A. Deputy Chairman. Thank you. All right. The PowerPoint presentation is much more detailed than what we have in the paper, so it would be better if we can be given a hard copy. Now, Abraham Sheck is here. Can you understand the PowerPoint presentation? We have friends that are ethnic minorities. So although the topic is about learning of English, I think it would be better if we can have the PowerPoint in English as well. I think we have moved into a very professional or specialized area of discussion. I dare not claim any expertise here. I hope there can be an exchange of views with the professionals here. Now, the PowerPoint gives me the impression that you are using general teaching and learning theory to tackle the learning of Chinese by NCS students. And you stress the use of small steps approach. You break up the whole curriculum into very small steps. And in so doing, you have you are teaching students that are rather weak in the language or in the subject itself. So you break down the steps into very small ones, so that every time a student has achieved a small step, he is encouraged and has a sense of satisfaction. But for NCS students, do they share the same characteristics as the so-called weaker students? Not all of them are weak, and you have to understand the cultural difference. I think you have not touched on this in your presentation. How can you help a group of NCS students who are from Hong Kong but with a different background from the general population to learn Chinese effectively? Deputy Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Ip, for your question. We've stressed that if the second language is not even English, then the strokes, the direction of strokes, and then we'll make a comparison with the mother language of the students when teaching Chinese writing of Chinese characters. And the textbooks may have different live examples from that for local students or Chinese-speaking students. Mr. Abraham Sheikh. So, compared with, how are you different from international schools? International schools such as ICS and Chinese international school, they have done an excellent job in teaching Chinese language. How do you compare with these schools in terms of your teaching method and your system? The way you teach Chinese to NCS students, you treat them as if they are really incompetent. How come international schools can make it interesting for NCS students to learn Chinese? So can you explain how are you different from international schools? Thank you. Together with teachers and also experts, we have made reference to teaching methods in international schools, where they use e-textbooks for adaptation of curriculum, and they also stress early integration and start early. And at a starting point, teachers have to be accommodating and take into account the students' mother tongue, and it is important to make the teaching materials interesting. Can we be given information on a comparison of the two systems? What system? How international schools teach Chinese language as a second language? Yes, I referred to one which Mr. Abraham Sheikh thinks is successful. I'd like to know whether you have read the submission from Hong Kong Unison Limited. If yes, can you spend some time to respond to the points there? Mr. Lee, you want to supplement? Yes, I'd like to say a few words in response to Mr. Sheikh's question. International schools teach Chinese as a second language. How do they compare with our learning framework? I think the two are very different. For international schools, they teach this language for everyday use, and the students there mainly sit for international examinations. For our learning framework, we prepare students to take the Hong Kong DSE paper. So the two are very different. We are not just talk about everyday use in daily conversation. We attach importance to both writing, reading, listening, and speaking. And international schools, they use the students' mother tongue to teach Chinese, but here we use Chinese to teach Chinese language to NCS students. Dr. Fernando Zhou. So we've spent a lot of time to hear that presentation from Mr. Lee.
I think they missed the point. We're talking about the ethnic minorities. They were born in Hong Kong. They learn Chinese as their second or even third language. Their performance will certainly be worse than the Chinese students. Therefore, they are not able to get into university. The proportion of NCS getting university is very low. That is unfair. This is a kind of discrimination. Chinese is not their first language, therefore their performance is poorer than local students. What we ask for is that these students who don't have Chinese as their first language can be given a different curriculum. If they reach a certain standard, they can be admitted into the university. They will not be rejected simply because of their Chinese standard. Now you will say there is no simpler Chinese language requirement, but we are not talking about teaching ethnic minorities Chinese. My concern is removal of this systemic hurdle or systemic discrimination. Now they've drawn up this NLF, but if NLF cannot replace the DSE result for Chinese language, then it will cause discrimination. They can, of course, resort to the international examinations, but that is another matter. Whether it's DSE, now say for English language, there is B1 and B2. And you will get only, the most you will get is level 4 and not 5 or 5-star. Now if for Chinese language, if there is a less difficult exam paper, if they can pass, then they can reach the threshold for entering universities. Can that be arranged? Now we see that ethnic minority students have higher expectations. They want to get the DSE standard. Therefore, we want to help them to achieve that. This NLF is not a less difficult curriculum. It's also, it fits with our QF1, level 1 to level 3. And that will get the recognition. We're trying to get the recognition of the universities and employers. And we will announce the results at the end of this year as far as recognition is concerned. Helena Wong. Mr. Sheikh asked you to reply to the submission of the Unison Limited. The Unison feels that the administration has not done enough consultation. I'll leave some time for you to respond. My concern is about examination. Now they can sit for the DSE exam, they can also sit for other exams. But we are doing integrated education. The NCS and Chinese students are in the same class. What do you expect of the teachers? when the teachers are conducting Chinese classes? Do you expect the NCS students to walk out and then be grouped into a small class and then study a different curriculum? Or if the students are in the same class, then what is the target of teaching? Are the teachers going to teach the students to sit for the DSE or IGCSE? If the students are aiming at different exams, then how can you expect the teachers to teach consistently? As for suitably grouping the NCSs, we have organized workshops to the school leaders, school managers on the arrangement. We don't believe that a small group approach can deal with the problem, or this kind of separated or taking out approach will solve the problem. In our contact with the students, they ask for sitting the DSE exam, the DSE. What kind of exams can be provided to the students? That is dependent upon the situation of an individual school. Whatever they choose, we aim at intervening into the difficulties of learning Chinese as second language. There is no chance for us to share with you the difficulties of learning second language and what are the points of intervention. But in fact, we have done a lot on that. We will translate the framework into English and let more people understand it. Thank you. Dr. Kenneth Chen. The Chinese language subject of this DSE had a passing rate less than 50%. It is considered to be the death trap for university education. If we are to provide the Chinese language curriculum as a second language, so that they can be promoted to universities, or so that they can acquire the Chinese language proficiency to enable them to work, I'm rather worried. Even local students are not able to deal with the question of the necessary silence. Then we really don't know how you can help the NCSs. You really need to ask the students, the NCS students. They have been living in Hong Kong for so many years. They may be able to listen, listen and speak very capably, but they may not be able to write really very well, to read and write very well. Now we should start from the kindergartens. We discuss 15 years of free education, and we discuss how to encourage kindergarten students who are NCS to come into contact with Chinese, to be exposed to Chinese. I have learned 5 types of Eastern European languages. Each school has its own system, has its own curriculum. You study, say, for 2 weeks or 2 months, and within a short period of time, I will be able to read the local newspaper, understand the grammar. Now, when I studied the language, these languages, I am already an adult. That is international experience. They do not link it to a particular exam. I can read newspapers and I can talk. So you really need to think harder on this. Otherwise, we are back to square one. Thank you. Michael Tian, Chairman. I'm a directly elected member of the NT West. This is a main concern in NT West. The ethnic minorities are concerned how their children can integrate into society. I'm going to speak on three perspectives, on 3 points. Whether the Chinese language standard achieved will enable them to be integrated into the community and will enable them to find jobs. Whether it's a syllabus B or second language learning framework, you have to get the recognition of the employers. How are you going to do it? That's your job. Don't you need to talk to the employers' associations or federations, show them the exam papers? If you have syllabus B or apply Chinese, if they reach that standard, will you employ that person? Whatever route you go down, you have to achieve that. Otherwise, it's a waste of breath. Dr. Fernando Cheung has raised this point, and I agree fully with him. Whether the university will recruit these students. You say you want to get the recognition of universities. Will the universities accept that? Would it be syllabus B or apply Chinese language? You have to consider which one is easier. You go down the easier route. And finally, I am the school director of the David Lee School. We have 20 to 30% of NCS among the DSS schools, and there is a lack of teachers. They really don't know who is capable of providing such courses. Where do you get the materials? Who are the experts to provide these applied language course? They tend to support syllabus B. The same teacher can teach the subject syllabus B, and it is easier. And therefore, traditional teacher education will be able to accommodate that. Have you ever considered syllabus B? The Deputy Secretary. Thank you. I thank Mr. Chairman. I thank Mr. Tian. We are liaising with the employers very closely. The chairman of the working group is an employer himself. As for the course provider, we make use of outside course provider, and the course provider has experience of providing workplace Chinese. As for your views, we'll record them, and we need time to develop different types of curriculum in response to the development of the situation, and it's also linked to QF. Members have finished their first round. Members for the second round, Mr. Fernando Cheung only. I give you all the 3 minutes. We have to end at 7. I want to follow up on syllabus A and syllabus B. Now you have syllabus B in English language reading paper. You have 2 syllabi, and you have one is simpler. One is you have B1 paper and B2 paper for English language. Why can't you have syllabus B for Chinese language, 2 sets of papers? For those who don't have Chinese as a first language, they can have syllabus B. The most important thing is that they can get into university. Applied Chinese language cannot replace Chinese language subject unless it can replace the Chinese language subject. syllabus B is very important. Answer me. I think the member for the follow-up question, we are now talking to the university, and we want them to recognize another qualification to replace the Chinese language qualification. We have syllabus B, experience of syllabus B. As for the old syllabus B, the users have a different view. They are not equivalent. Of course, they are different. It is simpler. It is easier. But we have accepted multi-capability, multi-ability. We don't expect a person to be good in all trades. This is a systemic discrimination if you require the same standard of Chinese language from the NCSs.
The applied learning Chinese subject is a qualification under the Hong Kong DSE. We hope that it can facilitate employment, but can it replace Chinese? So it's either the Chinese subject or a pass in either Chinese or applied learning Chinese. Yeah, we are trying to fight for that, but it can be either one, only be either one. You are fighting for that, but are you successful? We will make some announcement before the end of this year. So I hope you can do it as soon as possible, because we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars per cohort. So I hope we can hear some good news as soon as possible. All right. Mr. Abraham Sheikh, and then we'll end the meeting. We know that your team has been working very hard. The question is, you treat these people as Chinese. Chinese is a culture. The Chinese language is a culture. You can never expect NCS students to acquire Chinese competence like our children. You have to regard it as a second language to make it interesting for the NCS students. If you ask them to learn it as a first language, it is never possible, save for a few very clever ones. So you have to think out of the box. You must accept that these children will never be as good in Chinese as our students. You must give them affirmation so that one or two generations afterwards, they can become like local students. I know you're well-intentioned, but you think that they can be like Chinese-speaking students, but it's not possible. Family background is different, and they don't watch the same TV programs. And for teaching, you must make them interested before they can be successful. Do you need any response? Not necessarily. Okay, thank you. Do you want to respond, administration? Right, I declare the meeting. That ends the discussion of this paper. AOB, no AOB. Speakers off mic. I hope we can have a written response to the Hong Kong Unison's Limited. I've just declared the meeting closed. No, I'm just asking you to invite the administration to give us a written reply to the submission from Hong Kong Unison. Okay, thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.